Brewers pitching gives up 30 runs over 2 games this Saturday and Sunday. Is that the beginning of things to come, or just a bump in the road for the Brewers? Get to all that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Honestly, don't remember a time at AmFam Field, Miller Park, or the Oak County Stadium where the Brewers gave up back-to-back 15 or more runs in a game. Back-to-back, which happened this weekend. Considering the Brewers had been sailing along, holding tight with their pitching staff, getting good offense to cover up for some of maybe when the pitching did have a letdown, but the pitching staff has been so good, in particular the bullpen. And I'm worried that after this past weekend, I'm a little concerned. Okay, I'm not going negative on you, but I've been talking about how I thought that the way the Brewers are piecing things together, if it's going to eventually come back to bite them because of all the injuries and all that, and maybe some of the guys in the bullpen have been pitching so well. Is this just a bump in the road, or is this a sign of things to come that this bullpen has been taxed? The last 2 games in the series, Saturday and Sunday, Brewers obviously didn't want to use any bullpen guys, so they finished both games out by using a position player. That's always a little embarrassing, I think, when you got to do that. It is. It's just kind of I don't know, it's just not a good reflection. I don't like it. I get why they do it, but they had to do it because the pitching couldn't take anymore. And, man, I was out there for all 3 games this weekend. Friday starts out great. Brewers with a come from behind win on Friday night on the Ortiz base hit. Earlier in the game, hits his first home run of his career. And then they come back on Saturday and Sunday, and the pitching was just terrible. Now, I'll say this. The centerpiece on this loss on Sunday is the Aaron Judge play. And if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. Aaron Judge clearly interfered with a throw on a double play ball, which led interference was not called, but had interference been called, a double play there, and he got 2 outs. Now, the Yankees went on to score 7 runs in that inning. I just think, I don't know whether it was that inning or maybe the next inning, but baseball's a funny game. Yeah, that the umpires blew it, and they admitted after the game they blew it. But the bottom line is, it didn't happen, and the Brewer pitching staff couldn't get an out after that, and it continued to carry over. So I'm not so sure the Brewers will win this game, even if the Judge play is called correctly. I just think that the bullpen was just so taxed right now. Some of these guys, and Peguera and Uribe took a lot of punishment out there. They got beat around pretty good. Really, for a first time, they've been touched up like that. I'm saying Jansen Junk later came in, and they took batting practice off him too. But he's not a guy I'm counting on. But the bullpen, it's just at the stage right now where you had Friday, Colin Ray, the starting pitcher, terrific. 6 innings on 4 hits. Looked great. Bounced back after, when I say look great, he gave 3 home run balls, but three of the 4 hits were home runs. But I thought he battled through some of that stuff. He gave a 3-run home run to Trent Grisham, and that was the last of the runs, and kind of battled through 6 innings, which, again, I'm fine. The offense picked him up, which is great. It's great that the offense picked him up. So he pitched 6 innings, and the bullpen kind of held the Yankees down after that. The Yankees were scoring all those early runs. And then, Saturday and Sunday, yesterday, on Sunday, I should say, the Brewers left 16 runners in scoring position, not in scoring position, 16 runners on base. Chourio, I felt like he left a small little city on the base paths. At last count, it was like 6 runners he stranded on base through his first 3 at bats. A couple of ground outs and a fly out to deep left field. But just the pitching was, and I'm worried with having to bring the Jansen Junks up in the world that, and I get it because this bullpen, some of these starters hadn't been gone, 6 innings in games. And somebody wrote me, well, Chuck, starters only go 4 innings. No, starters don't only go 4 innings. They need to go more than 4 innings. That's not the way. We haven't regressed that much in baseball. Where we're only expecting a starter to go 4 innings. A spot starter like Bryce Wilson on Monday, okay, but guys like Colin Ray, Joe Ross, even certainly Freddie, who had a bad start last week and pitches again on Tuesday. We need those guys to go 6 innings. So you're not taxing your bullpen, but Candy came up and pitched well, and then Saturday was sent down to make room for Junk, get it fresh arm up there, and they brought Junk up here, and Junk was not very good. All jokes aside, Junk was not very good. So I'm concerned, really, and I even when they were winning, I was concerned about this, that the pitching staff was eventually, they take enough hits and injuries to the Wade Mileys of the world. And then we're expecting Joe Ross to come in there and solidify the middle of the pitching staff. And that's going to be a problem because what we saw on Saturday, I think we'd see more of it. And then Freddie's got to be darn near perfect when he starts every game. And that's not going to happen. Freddie's going to give us hopefully more good starts than bad starts. But, that's you're expecting, Freddie has one like he has on Thursday. A bad start, you don't come bashing him that, he's the number one starter, but that he's given up these runs because Freddie had been so good up to that point. He's not at that point where he's a number one starter. So, we're relying on Freddie to be a number one. Number two, no counted on Wade Miley, but he's done maybe for his career. Joe Ross, Colin Ray, and whoever else, Bryce Wilson. And when Bryce Wilson has to pitch, he can only go into the 4th inning or so these days. They may have to stretch him out a little further. We'll see what the plan is when he pitches on Monday night. But when your guys are going short, the bullpen's going to get taxed. And when the bullpen gets taxed, you're relying on some guys eventually from Nashville who aren't ready. I looked at Nashville. Some people asked, is there anyone in Nashville they bring up? No. Jake Mizorowski down at AA, Biloxi. He's pitching his butt off. He had a great weekend. But, they're not going to bring him up just yet. So, I just hope the Brewers can hang in there. Get the bats going against Tampa again. All right. But this is, here we are in late April. And the pitching staff, which was already a problem, we thought going into the season, I think we're starting to see some of that right now. Some of the repercussions of injuries and maybe not going out and get themselves another starter. But a lot of injuries, some of these guys, the Junis and guys like that, they were counting on for the rotation. Certainly Wade Miley. You haven't got anything out of those guys. So, and as a return, the bullpen gets taxed. Guys who are good are getting worn out there. And then you got to throw in position players to finish up a game because you get back-to-back 15-run games. I don't think we're not going to see that. If that trend continues, that's going to set baseball history. Brewers probably could have helped out a little bit had they not stranded 16 runners on base, but they weren't going to score 15 runs. Bauer's hitting the home run, a 3-run jack, electrified AmFam Field on Sunday. That was cool. Tied the game at 4. And the Yankees come right back and had a 3 spot and then the 7 spot. And it was history at that point. But yeah, at the risk of sounding negative, I'm just being real with you guys. I'm worried that this slide is going to, because there's no, in baseball, you just keep playing. You don't got a week to recuperate. NBA, you have maybe a couple of days sometimes. They're right back at it Monday. They got to get right back on it Monday against Tampa. And hopefully, some of these guys in the bullpen who have logged some big innings already are ready to get back in it. Peguera, his ERA now 4. Uribe's near 7. And, of course, without Devin Williams at the back end of that bullpen, you're going closer by committee a lot of times. But we'll see. Pat Murphy's a real good manager. He's got a real good pulse in this team, and I love the way he handles his team. You could tell he's got the clubhouse back. He had the clubhouse back at the end of the night. He's one of these guys who doesn't look back at all. Like tomorrow, when they're ready to play Tampa, he doesn't even want to talk about the Yankee series. He's moving forward. What has been in the past is in the past, and he's moving forward. Like somebody asked him on Saturday night at his press conference, how would you assess your first month of the season? And he says, we're first place, but I can't, I don't really look back at it. And that's the way he's done that a few times, which is great. I don't care, but he's had a great first half of the season. I'm not going to let these 2 games destroy what the Brewers have already built up. They're 17-10, I want to say, going into Monday's game. But I'm telling you, I'm just concerned with, the TBAs that the Brewers have to keep throwing out there, and some of these guys not named Freddie Peralta that they're pitching. And so far, Colin Ray, he's a 2-0, I think his record is. The ERA just around 3. Got to hold in there, got to hang in there, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. That's what Pat Murphy makes the big bucks to figure these things out. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This show is brought to you in part by DoorDash. DoorDash, always a great way to go. DoorDash, 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on flour, convenience, grocery, retail order, now on DoorDash. You got to take advantage. We all love DoorDash, no matter where we are, to have that get delivered to your house. Maybe you need chips and salsa, a couple of bags of chips and salsa. You got people coming over for the game. Hey, DoorDash, 50% off your next order when you spend $15 or more, up to $15 when you use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Using DoorDash today, terms apply. Get your Mother's Day's gifts all in one place. 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on grocery retail orders, Mother's Day stuff. Get your Mother's Day's gift right here on DoorDash. Thoughtful way to go. A great invention. Often used by the Freeman family. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are coming right back. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman, your host here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. By the way, thanks to anybody, a lot of you guys who came up to me this weekend, walking around, talking to some fans by the Sea League experience this weekend. Appreciate your support of the podcast, Locked On Brewers. Thank you very much. Took a few selfies out there. Always great. And if you see me walking around the ballpark, a lot of times I'll walk around the ballpark for the game. I always check out the Sea League experience once before the game. Once a homestand, I should say. Can never get tired of it. And I can never leave there with a dry eye either. I'm not ashamed to say. So always love talking to the great fans, obviously. And those Google, Spotify, and Apple. You find us on all the major downloads. All right. Jackson Chourio. Does it come to a point where you do send him down the AAA, or do you let him work through this? Batting .207. He was 1 for 5. He did strand 2 runners in each of the first 3 at-bats on Sunday. But he's scuffling, striking out, can't lay off the outside pitch. 87 at-bats, 33 Ks so far for Jackson Chourio. That seems to be a problem, obviously, the strikeouts. I say you keep running him out there and playing him. Unless it gets really, really and trying to play through all this. Okay. Pressure on him, obviously. Smart kid, good kid. I say let him play through it. And we knew going into the season that this was going to be part of the deal. He was going to have to play through the ups and downs of the season. Yelich said it before the season. Just go out and let the kid play, and I'm good with that. Just let him go out and play and let him learn up here. And I'm not comparing him to Robin Yount whatsoever. But Robin Yount never got sent down to the minors. He played on some bad teams in 74 and 75, and at times when he struggled, they just kept running him out there and playing, and I am good with that. He's got a lot of talent, a lot of ability. I see some of you guys are down on him already on Twitter. No. You just have to he's got to make adjustments, and that'll happen. And he works hard. He puts in the extra time. I am good. But 33 Ks over 87 at-bats, yeah, that's not a good number. But and what we saw on Sunday, not good. He did have a base hit. He went 1 for 5 later on when the game was already decided. But Jackson Chourio, don't send him down. Let him continue to work through this. You wonder if Tyler Black's going to get called up, though. Continues to hit. Continues to produce. You wonder over at third base. I think the Oliver Dunn experiment, not saying it's over, but after the initial, what he gave us early in the season, seems to quiet it down a little bit. They're not bringing up Monasterio. It doesn't seem they want to go that route. Ortiz is playing every day at third. Had the home run, game-winning hit on Sunday night. I'm saying if this team is in the race and you're not getting great production out of third base, maybe that's something you look at the trading down the line at the trading deadline. But I'm going off path a little bit here. Chourio, keep him on the roster. Let him work through this. Jake Mizorowski had a great weekend with Biloxi. 8 innings, 1 hit, reached 99 a few times over the weekend series, 8 innings in the series against Pensacola. That would be an option, I would say. I think I mentioned this earlier. Would they bring him up all the way up to the majors? Looks like we watch his stuff now. Again, command is going to be the issue there with Mizorowski, but I don't know. I mean, I just think they're not willing to go there just yet. But they might have to continue to run out the Jansen junks and rotate guys from Nashville till they freshen up this bullpen a little bit. They really could use a day off on Monday. That's for sure. And of course, they gave their bullpen 3 innings of rest this weekend with the 2 innings the position players pitched on Saturday and, of course, on Sunday with Bowers getting that lefty 1 inning and no runs scored. Boy, I'm sitting behind home plate watching this, and I'm like, how are they not teeing off on Bowers at this point? I mean, he's just laying him in like batting practice. I thought when Giancarlo Stanton was up, he was going to take him 100 yards out. And Aaron Judge, that home run he hit in the first inning, in the first inning off Tobias Myers, wow, that rocket of 400 yards. That was pretty incredible. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This show is brought to you in part by the good folks over at Monopoly Go. You want to try Monopoly Go? That is the way to go. We've all played the game Monopoly, played it with our friends, played it with our adult friends, played it as a kid, played as an adult. They've now put Monopoly Go on the phone. You could play it and have a chance to win money. Yeah, you couldn't do that before, win money before when you're playing. Well, I suppose you could have the old Monopoly game if you really wanted to. But there's awesome prizes you can unlock, so much more. Play with your friends, massive multipliers for everything you win, rent frenzies, a ton of unique mini games like digging for treasure, and a whole bunch of other stuff you can play with teams and friends and all that. Something fun to discover. Monopoly Go. Get off the bench and download it today. 150 million people have downloaded Monopoly Go. Go to the App Store, go to Google Play, and find out what the latest craze is with Monopoly Go. Playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis, by the way, for taunting friends, unique stickers you could trade and all that. Get into the action by downloading Monopoly Go free on the App Store and also Google Play. Show is also brought to you in part by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Now, if you download and you find out what you, let's say you go to the app, not the app, pardon me, you go to the website, FanDuel.com/lockedon. New customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. $150, win or lose. No matter what you do with that first bet, you're getting $150 in bonus bets after that first bet, whether you win it or lose it. And you have a chance to win some big time bucks with Monopoly Go. Bet on the NBA, NHL, of course, Major League Baseball. I think the Brewers are going to bounce back Monday with Wilson on the hill. $150. Here's what you got to do, though. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel.com/lockedon. $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Their payoffs are great, and they're easy to work for, with, honest, and all that more. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Maybe you cashed in the over this weekend with the Yankees and Brewers. All 3 games went way over the total. Way over the total. We're coming right back and tell you about the Rays series next here on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman, your host here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. So the Rays are in town next. The rotation for this series, Wilson, Peralta, and Ray. Tampa comes in. Tampa's similar to the Milwaukee Brewers. That small market. They seem to always piece things together and be competitive and get into the playoffs. Now, they just got swept in a 3-game series by the White Sox. And right now, Tampa's below they're 3 games below the 500 mark for the first time since 2021. But good hitting team. Again, they just find ways to win. Tampa making their only appearance, another American League East team. They're in last place in that division right now in the American League East. Of course, the Yankees are in first. Good team coming in, but they got swept by the White Sox. Surprise. I thought the White Sox would, I thought Tampa would come back and beat the White Sox, at Comiskey Park or whatever they're calling it these days down in Chicago today. But White Sox swept that 3 games. They had won 3 games all year going into Friday, and they swept Tampa 3 straight. Unbelievable. So that's what's coming up this weekend, or this week, Monday, Tuesday, and then a Wednesday afternoon start over at AmFam Field. Quickly, some of your messages I got, talking about this series. Sam says the bullpen was superb. Before these 2 or 3 games, they have been overworked. Rotation has problems, to say the least. Right on. Does Nashville or Biloxi have any potential help? Miley, Williams, Woodruff, Hall, injuries are hurting him right now. I said I like Canning the way he pitched on Friday. Got sent down Saturday, 2 innings. I believe gave up 1 hit. That was like Stanton on Friday night. But I like Canning. Got sent down on Saturday. Cactus Pete says everybody knew going into the season that pitching was going to be an issue. It's up to management to fix it. Well, not much they can do right now. They got to wait until the trading deadline. Nobody's trading anybody right now because technically everybody thinks they're in it. Ain't no way somebody's going to trade one of their 1 or 2 or 3 starters to anybody. It's a bad sign to the fan base. They're just not going to do it. Gunslinger says pitching is definitely a concern, but it's also the Yankees. Mark says agreed. Definitely can't blame the wheels coming off 2 games in a row. on a momentum shift. Is there anything the front office could do to help with starting pitching, or is this a harbinger for the rest of the season? Well, that's the gist of this whole show is today. Is this the beginning of the end, or is this just a aberration this weekend? 2 bad days at the office for the Milwaukee Brewers. I think it might be a little combination of both. There's no way this pitching staff is taxed to a point where they should be giving up 15 runs a game. I mean, that's absurd. But I think they're going to regress a little bit. But this is where team baseball, the offense has got to pick them up a little bit. You know, the offense didn't do enough of that last year. You know, the Corbin Burns game last year in the playoffs, people want to blame Corbin, but it would have been nice if the Brewers would have scored some runs after the first couple of innings in that game. And yesterday, on Sunday, the Brewers stranded 16 runners on base. That would have made up for 15 runs, but still, you had some early chances against the Yankees. Maybe the momentum of this game switches. Maybe you don't give up 15 runs. Maybe you win a 10-9 game against these guys. But they could have driven in some more runs earlier in the game, led by Chourio, stranding guys all over the place. So, Rays in town, time to move on. Monday night, we'll be here after the game talking it with you. Google, Spotify, Apple, you get us on all the major downloads in this podcast. And, of course, go to YouTube. Search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. It'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. Thank you, all you great Brewer fans. Thanks for joining me here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.